Hey guys, welcome back. It's Joe with FST here with my good buddy Isaac. In our last segment we covered some of the things that we had already done to our Rustler VXL. We're going to continue on with some of the modifications that we have planned for this setup. Like I had mentioned before, the intent behind this build was to go with something that was a little bit more monster truck-like. So I wanted to put a truck body on it. I chose to go right here with a Ford Raptor body. That was a really cool looking body. My son has a Raptor body on his Slash 2-wheel drive, which will show his vehicle later on. But he really loves it, and I figured what a better way than to kind of bond with him than to have the same truck. Now the one that I went with comes from Proline. It's made for the Stampede. Now one of the things that you'll notice between the difference in the Stampede and the Rustler is that they do have a different wheelbase. I wasn't too concerned about that. I'm not much of a perfectionist because I did already change out the tires to something that's completely out of the norm for what you'd expect to see on a Rustler. So it already looks a little bit goofy as is, and I personally was okay with that. If you're looking for something that's a perfect match to a wheelbase, this isn't where you want to go. But if you're looking to have a Raptor, maybe it is. So I won't bore you to death with taking everything out of the package. I've already done the guesswork for you. In the package, you're going to have the actual shell of the body, which is molded out of plastic. You're also going to have this little pack here, which comes with some decals and some stickers. Some of the stickers will make it look very much like a replica of a Raptor, and some of the stickers will give it kind of a racy look. You can kind of mix and match, do it kind of however you want to. You have to cut them out yourself individually. Also in this pack, kind of hard to see, I haven't actually unwrapped this yet, but it also comes with some masking for the windows as well. We're going to use that when we actually get into painting the vehicle. So that's what comes in the package, and then of course like a little pamphlet for some other bodies and stuff that they sell. But the big thing that we're looking for, of course, is the body itself. So I've already done a little bit of prep work to this body, and I'm going to walk you through step by step what I've already done and how I got to the point that I'm already at before we jump into actually applying some paint to it. But the prep work that I've already done, I can still kind of give you a good visual example of what's taken place. So when you first take the body out of the plastic wrapper it comes in, it's going to all come as one piece. This little tab here is all molded together with the body. Now, I've done a few RC cars in the past, and one of the things that I've noticed from my experience is cutting these bodies out is not an easy task to do, even with a really sharp hobby knife or a Dremel. I've come into cases where I've cut too wide, cut too narrow, I jumped or got startled by something, and all of a sudden I have a random stray line somewhere. And that came because I was going all the way through the plastic. So what I've been doing recently, and it's been working out really well, is rather than cutting all the way through the entire plastic, I just use a simple hobby knife, common hobby knife like you probably already have at home. If not, I highly recommend you pick one up. You're going to need it eventually. Pick up a little hobby knife like this. They're really cheap, they're very useful, and just make a simple score mark in the plastic along the line that you're trying to cut. What I mean by scoring, if you're not familiar with it, is don't cut all the way through. Just make a really shallow cut into the surface of the plastic and just go all the way around the whole lines of the body that you want to cut out. By doing this, if you mess up your cut somewhere, your score mark, you can go a little bit wider with it and still have room left to trim out with a Dremel or a hobby knife or something else if you made a little mistake. It gives you that kind of grace if you make a mistake though. It's very useful, and I'm glad that I started doing it this way. But by doing that little score mark, then the next thing that you have to do is just simply bend the little tabs that came originally all molded together. Just bend them a little bit until you hear it pop. When you hear it pop, it's separated the two pieces. And then you're just going to gently work your way all around the outer edges of the entire body, all of your score marks all the way around until this whole piece comes off. I cut mine into a couple pieces, but it'll all come off just like so, just like where I scored it. And again, if you messed up your lines, it's not a big deal. Just before you get to that point, just rescore it where you want your line to actually be if you had that kind of a mistake. What you do with these pieces is entirely up to you. I'm personally probably just going to throw most of them away is what I usually do. But I suppose you could reuse it. It's pretty thick plastic. If you had another idea for some kind of accessory or something that you wanted to make for your vehicle from scratch, It's good enough plastic to do it with, so if I wanted to put a spoiler on here or something, I'm not personally into spoilers, but Isaac is really into spoilers, so I'm pretty sure we're going to save this, because for his vehicle, this is going to make a sweet spoiler. Look how big that spoiler could be if he wanted it. Oh yeah, he's going to love it. So we're going to save that for him. You can do whatever you want with it. So now we got our body separated from the molding. The next thing that we need to do is make sure that we wash it really well. The important part about washing it is making sure that you use warm water and a good soap. I don't recommend using any type of soap that has moisturizers, lotions, or anything like that, because we really don't want any kind of imperfections in the body, any oily substances that would be left behind by those types of soaps. So use a good degreasing soap. A dish soap that's not made for soft hands is a good pick, or a degreasing agent would work really well. But the point is to get the inside of this as clean as possible. And you want to do a good job cleaning up the outside of it as well. Once you got it clean, make sure that you have it very, very dry. My favorite thing to use to dry the vehicle off with after I've cut the part out is a microfiber towel. Microfiber is great because it doesn't leave a whole lot of lint behind. It very rarely will leave lint behind actually. And they're relatively inexpensive. I bought a pack of, I believe it was a dozen of these for roughly $7 or $8 from Walmart, and I can use them, throw them in the washer machine, dry them, pull them back out and keep on reusing them. They're great little tools to have around for hobbies or taking care of your car, cleaning up your flat screen TV, whatever. So it's a good little buy for only a few bucks. Pick them up. But they'll soak up all the water on the body really well and they won't leave any streaks. That's why I chose them for this particular project. Some other things that you'll want to take into consideration when it comes to your body, and I've already done it with this one as well, is getting rid of all my little rough edges that were left behind from some of the spots where I had made some mistakes with my scoring. I simply just took a little Dremel piece and just went around the whole edge of this just to kind of smooth it off a little bit and get rid of those little snags. If I were to ever run this vehicle inside the house without doing that, it could maybe catch a piece of hair, a piece of carpet, it could maybe get caught on the edge of a bedspread or a blanket or something, maybe snag a thread and now you're dragging stuff all over the house, threads and fibers and whatever. By deburring it, is what I would like to call it, I suppose, you kind of eliminate that possibility. You also give it a nice clean edged look. The last step that I have actually already done with this vehicle is I did already drill out the holes for my body mounts. In our last segment on the VXL, we showed you where we had mounted the Pro Line adjustable body mounts. I really like doing the holes for those posts before painting, because if you paint the body first, it's extremely difficult to place where those holes should be. So if you're doing a body from fresh scratch clear plastic, put your body post holes in first. It will save you a huge headache later down the road. Obviously the size drill you're going to use is depending on what type of post you're going to use. The posts for the Pro Line kit are pretty small, a lot smaller than the standard Traxxas mounts. So just take that into consideration before you select your drill bit and cut your hole too big. Now we're going to talk about what it's going to take to get into applying color to this actual body. Now if you think about the way the body is and what we want it to look like, you kind of have to think in reverse. And the reason why we do that is because we want to paint this thing from the inside out. We don't want to paint on the outside of it like you would with an actual car, like the cars that you drive and ride in. The reason why is because if you were to go crashing and bashing with this thing, you slip it upside down, you're rolling over, you're going to be scratching all that paint that you spent a lot of time preparing for and adding to this to make it look beautiful. I personally would be a lot happier to still have my color and maybe just have a little bit of a scratch on my plastic if I were to crash. So by painting from the inside out, it allows us to keep the color inside so that if we crash it, the only thing we have is a scratch in the plastic and nothing else, but we still retain all of our color. It's a great way of doing it. It's definitely my best way of doing it that I've ever seen, and I'm going to continue doing it that way for years. But because we're doing it that way, it presents some challenges. We have to think in reverse. So, from the outside of the vehicle, in towards the paint that you would normally see on a regular car. Today we're going to start doing details on this thing first. If you've ever seen a Ford Raptor in real life, these things are covered with clearance lights all over them, mandated by safety laws. There's lights all over the front, there's lights on the side, there's lights on the back, there's lights everywhere. If you're looking at the actual Ford Raptor, those lights stand out from the color of the paint. So because we're going in reverse, those are going to be the first things that we're going to have to paint on this in order to pop out that detail. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring the camera view in a little bit closer, and we're going to start adding those small little details before we start spraying the actual body color. Sound good? Bring it on in.